Alright, so what you're looking at on screen is what I worked on yesterday, which is an animation that has rotating squares around three different center points that create three different rings, and they're rotating at different speeds. The one on the far left is rotating at, what is it? 45 degrees every 30 frames, so 35, 1/8 of a turn every 2 seconds, and then the second one is going 1/4 of a turn every 2 seconds, and the third one is going 1/2 a turn every 2 seconds. And the top one is the paper that it was sprayed onto, and the bottom one is the 3 stencils that I used for it, lined up with the red on top, blue second in line, and then yellow is the furthest back. And that's the color mixing that occurs there. I had some issues with the alignment on the yellow, which is why more pronounced on the second sheet in the background you can see the bluish squares jumping. That's because it was at a slight angle, and how I register everything is in a grid. So if it's at an angle, it's sort of every 5 frames, so every third of a second it will jump back to the first position. Yeah. So what I'm working on today is another animation. I have it all cut out. It took a minute to cut out because it's a little bit more involved. I had to figure things out on my own accord, but the actual cut has a lot of little pieces in it. Not that this one didn't, but still took a minute. And what I'm doing is I'm using Cuttle, which is a parametric browser-based vector program, to create an animation of 3 eyes looking left and right at a with a delay on each of them. So the top eye is moving at the same speed as the other 2, but it is 1/3 of a loop ahead of the others. It's 10 frames ahead, and so the eye moves back and forth, looks in either direction, and the eye also widens. This will be a 4-color process. It'll have an additional layer of black, where all these other previous ones have been just cyan, yellow, and magenta, or blue, red, yellow. They end up being a similar sort of color to whether or not you use magenta. Anyway, so it'll take a little bit longer. I'm also going to mess with having elements in and out of focus by having the black and the other colors be out of focus in the sense of like having the stencil higher off. And the further it is from the stencil is from the paper, the more blurred it is, because it allows for the paint to spread out. And yeah, but have it where the black is in focus but the color is out of focus, and see how that goes. It'll also be a little bit different for the final, or not the final, but the stencils. I don't know if having the black on there will work or not. I'll see what it all looks like, but having 4 layers as opposed to 3, and one of them being more opaque than the others, makes it so layering the stencils has a different sort of quality about it. I'm curious what it'll look like. So next steps are prepping my area for airbrush, and then airbrushing, and keeping track of the actual order that order of things, but also how many iterations I need of each kind. I think I need only 1 of it being flush, 2 of it being slightly raised, and 3 of it being raised up pretty high, for a total of 6 painted iterations. Okay. Gonna prep the area a little bit, and then I'll mute this and the mic so you don't hear the compressor running. I switched to a different mask because I noticed there was some coloration in the other one, so I don't think it has as good of a seal for this sort of thing, and I'd rather have one that feels like it has a little bit better of a seal and not risk as much of inhaling any particulates. So that's what I'm doing. And why this mask is different. Thank you, Chloe. Not 100% sure when you sent that message, but when I'm airbrushing, I keep my mask up and whatever. Anyway, I'm cleaning now and switching colors.
times when I could not find a friend. was to fall. Cause the honey drips from your sweet lips when I give you the
The airbrush is nice, but it's also a different thing to sort of manage. I bought cheap ones, and so I have to do more maintenance on them. But they get expensive fast to get like a nice one going. I have to clean out the airbrush, and then I'll start scanning, and I'll be able to talk a bit more. But while I'm brushing or airbrushing, it's harder to work and talk simultaneously. All right. So I've got 6 iterations of this. Turn down that, turn this. Okay, 6 iterations of this animation. I'll hold it this way so you can visualize it a little bit more. It's one where everything is, I'm just going to say in focus because that's the easiest way to refer to it. One where all 4 elements are in focus: red, blue, yellow, black. And then there's one where the black is in focus and all the colors are slightly out of focus. One where the black is in focus and the colors are very out of focus. And then there are ones where the black is slightly out of focus and the background is slightly out of focus. The black is slightly out of focus, the background is very out of focus. And then one where everything is out of focus. Here's a comparison to the fully in focus. It looks like there's something weird with this one, but it's just that the stencil is further away from the surface of the paper when it's being scanned, or when it's being sprayed. I said scan because that's the next step in stuff. I need to scan all 6 of these and start to square them up. So that's the next step, is scanning and squaring it up. As far as catharsis is concerned with the process, it is, but it also has its frustrations. If you're trying to like get out aggression or something, I would not say that airbrush is good for that because it's finicky and immediately responsive to any like slight mistakes that you make. It's not something that you can really like fix so quickly, and there's a lot of mechanical elements taking place that you have to manage. Alright. It's very fast. So, like, when something goes wrong, it goes wrong aggressively. My main issue has been dealing with moisture caught in the air hose, which just happens through the mechanics of compressing the air. Something with it, moisture is captured. Scan /01, and let me change where this is going. I'll be able to show you the scan in just a moment, but I need to scan it first. Choose that location, scan. It's going wrong aggressively is one reason that I'm hesitant to use like any sort of power tools. Okay, I'm opening up Photoshop and then I'll show that to you, but it's gonna, wait, did I leave it at 4800? I did. Okay, need to cancel that scan. That scan was going to take I don't know how long. I need to have it at 1200 DPI, not 4800. 4800 takes like 15 minutes to scan. You do get a very high resolution scan as a result. This one takes like 1 to 3 minutes. Alright, let me open up Photoshop in OBS. Okay, there's Photoshop, and now I need to open up. I forget, were you asking about process on Instagram? Because I can show you the actual like cuttle thing. Cuttle meaning it's a browser-based vector program that I use for producing these. where you can have like instances of something affect or the if you have you can apply like a repeating element and you can have each instance of that repetition take a different value, which is good for animation in like a grid in this sort of way. I'll just pull it up regardless. Even if you weren't the person, this is something to look at while I'm just waiting on stuff to scan. Oh, well, I'll show this because I'm in the midst of it anyway. So, Fox, actually, let's click into this one. It's loading slow. Let's see if this is correct. Yeah, okay. So this is the final thing that I exported. And each of these instances has a value that's called time, and that time changes value of positioning of the eyes and how wide open the eyes are. This one I had to do a little bit of like workarounds or I couldn't do it in the fastest way. I had to do it in a way that was like repeating elements and then duplicating them and such. This has a lot more happening in it than it really needs to. But I have I'll do it this way. I'll mute just so you can get a general sense of what's happening. Eye whites, these are going to be green, and this is a value where you have 2 points and you change the degree of the arc based on a center point that it's referencing, and that is being manipulated by this value. And so it goes from 0 to 30 is how many frames that I have built in. And through that timeline, it goes to a point and then reverses through this mathematic function, which is cosine of, and then 360 divided by frame number. Frame number is a total number of frames, so in this case, it's cosine of 12 times time is that variable, so it increases or decreases the amount, plus I white rep, which is a repetition that comes from this linear repeat up here. So there are 3 instances of this shape, and they're at different stages of the animation, which is why you have I white rep. The values there are 0, 1, and 2. So at 0, it actually doesn't affect anything because it's adding 0 to the value. At the second one, it's a value of 1 times -10, which means that it is 10 frames behind. And then all of this cosine, which goes from a value of -1 to 1, is shifting on the eye circle position minus eye circle position. So it's got this sort of position is offset. It's a thing that I do. And then there's 2 of each of those shapes that are combined together with a union function here, and then it's repeated 3 times, and the offset is this distance between each of these. And if I wanted to, I could create more of them, but I don't want more of those. I just want the 3 of them. And there's the I white rep, that value, so 0, 1, 2, and as it increases, the number here increases. So that's one section. Then you have the irises, which have, I'll click into just the iris. So let's mute that for a second. The iris is just a circle that has its position similarly based off of a cosine function, which means over the period of the animation, it goes from -1 to 1 and back. And there's also a color effect on it, which ends up not functioning because once you create a union of stuff, then it defaults to all having the same color. But those are cut out according to that same shape. Then those eye white shapes are brought into these rectangles. Where is this rectangle? So here's, let me turn this whole thing on. There's a rectangle that is just positioned in a place to offset the colors and such. And that rectangle has a cutout of where the irises or the shapes are located. And that is in here. And then there are two instances of the blue iris because of the color mixing ultimately. Anyway, this is a lot combined in here. And then there's also a copy of that arc shape. That's the top one. It has the same functionality, but instead of being a shape fill, it is a line that has an outline on it. And then that's combined with the pupil, which has a similar function as the iris. It's just a little bit smaller, and there's an element to it where the pupil, where's this iris that I'm looking at? The pupil gets larger and smaller. So if you look, it gets a little bit smaller, then larger, and then smaller again. So that's built in here, and then that's brought into this thing that has a tile repetition placed on it. So it repeats in this grid, and that time functionality is the integer is a reflection of which number this is in the grid. So that value is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 30. And the other thing included in here is a collection of pinhole locations so that I can align the stencil on the rig that I have that just has some T-pins stuck in it so that you can align everything. So that's all that. And that's how that is built. And it makes it so if I change some element in the core animation, it's changed everywhere. So if I wanted the irises to be really big or really small, I change some value that's a parameter, and it changes everywhere. And that's really convenient for something where you have 30 versions of something, because I've done this manually where something's wrong and then I have to change it 30 times. So it's advantageous. And I'm going to close out this window because it eats up some RAM and such. And I'm going to scan the second thing. And start to align this stuff. So show you Photoshop again. Photoshop is open. And I'm actually not going to be running that. I'm just going to do this interstitially. So come to scans, scan 1. And each of these I am going to go in, and because the pinholes are essentially the crop locations, I use those to try and align things. So how I do this is I choose one of them and put guides as sort of a crosshair, and then I need to transform it. I change the anchor point to the intersection of those two guides, which means when I rotate this, it'll stay in that corner in that position. And I can rotate this, hit return, let it transform, and then I'll pull out more guides. Let's merge that down, make sure that I don't have anything extra running. Nope, it's just going slow. And then use these. This one's pretty good. And just check that top one because I'm being more diligent this time around. Slightly down here. Okay, and then I'm going to crop this according to those guides. Resize it slightly to fit the format grid thing that I have set up. Rotate this 90 degrees clockwise. These have fun colors. And save this file as a new one. So I preserve the original. Image capture, throw 3 on that, hit scan. That one's done. Let's open up the second one. So while I'm working on the second one, the third one's scanning. And something that I do not know is how something like this, how the stencils are going to look. As these get a little bit further along, some of the papers have more moisture on them and they're more warped, and so they're less likely to be as square as I want them to be. Pretty good. Let's crop this down. Adjust the file size, 9,000 by 12,000. It's a bit arbitrary, but it's something that I knew that I would be using that resizing a bunch. And so I wanted to make it something that was easy to remember. How this is built is so each of the stills, if I scan it at 1200 DPI, then it is a if I scan them at 1200 DPI, then they are 1920 by 1080. Give or take a tiny bit, just from the inconsistencies that exist in the process. So let's get this third one. You can see that the stencil is more blurred here for the background colors, and that's by design. Merge that down. Get another guide. Another guide. Come out a little bit. Crop it to the guides. Image rotation. save it as a copy. Close that, open up the next one. Let's scan 4. This will have slightly blurry black. Look at that. The black has real nice spatter. Or more like texture on the edge of it. It's nice. I think it must just be that the pigment is more, or that the paint's thicker. I don't know. But something makes it so it's more apparent. Maybe it's just because it's so dark. Maybe further over. That down. There's a little bit of bleed on these by design. So that I can get to the edge without it needing to be perfect. Save this. And I've got one more piece of paper to save, and then I'm going to see what the stencils look like. On the line. Scan this one, that one's saved. Open up, scan 5. It's a process. If this were just one iteration and didn't have the variation on the thickness of everything, it'd be much different. It'd be much faster, but it would also be a lot more work on for the amount of stuff on the airbrush side of things. Making stencils and such. The fast part is spraying. The slow part is everything else. I want to see what the real up close. I really like the textures that come about with this. Let me save this. And now I get to see a little bit of what the stencils look like. I think that might be interesting. adding this black does to it. I'm going to try 2 scans, with one with black, one without. And I might as well do black first because I'm less familiar, so it'll give me a better sense of what I'm going to be looking at. Takes longer to align them on the scanner because there's 4 components, so I gotta get them in the right spot. Now scan 06. This one will be the most blurry. Look at those textures though. Okay. Come in here. Get up close. This one also has like one of the cleaner pinholes. I think it's because it's further back. That's the end of that tape. Merge that guy down. Going slow. Someone running, I think, a leaf blower outside. Some sort of motorized tool. Image rotation 90 degrees clockwise. Just a size speed 12,000 by 9,000. Save this. Line. And I'm gonna see what this looks like with the black scan 07. It's gonna be dark. I don't think you really even see the black. Let me see what this looks like without the black. I don't know if I'll end up using this one, but I think the black makes it a little worse. It looks more sort of technical surrounding things. I think if I'm able to get this, I think it'll look better now with it added on there. Okay, I'm just gonna close out of that. And in the meantime, in recent this align guy. I'm going to open up, if it'll let me just open recent, align a 1. You can see the bleed here. You see these guides. That's where stuff gets cropped out. Let's see how long this takes to save for weapon devices. While that's moving a little bit there, I'm going to grab my soda that's behind me. Takes forever to save for weapon devices. And save for weapon devices is what I use to save out the individual sections of the larger images. Their own image file. It's like it's cropping it. While that's doing that, I'm going to keep scanning. Scan more stuff. Yeah, it looks better without the black. I can't show you right this moment, but I can preview it in a different window. This whole thing takes a while. I'm going to see if it at all speeds up if I turn off Photoshop here. Got any other questions, concerns, curiosities? I was about to say commissions because that's the sequence of words that I use at the end of streams to just like self-promo. Okay, this popped up. Let me save this out. And in order to do that, I need to create a new folder. This is going to be called just this, but stills. And it's going to be 01. And the files will be 01, and it's all user slices. Okay. I'll have something to show you in just a moment. Scripts, load files in the stack. Browse, live designs. One moment, I saved this into the wrong location. Stills 01, grab all these, they're all in there, open them up. Looking forward to seeing this one. Almost have the animation in a format that you can view. Stills, play this, image rotation 90 degrees clockwise. Okay. Save this for webbing devices, but it goes much faster when it is 960 by 540 instead of 12,000 by 9,000. It's like less than 10% of the size. Let's see how large this gets if I bump up the size a little bit. Okay. And this is going to Live Designs, not square rings, but airbrush. 3 eyes. Paste this. This name is now GIFs. And this is 01. Save that out. And now it's saved, and I can show it to you. Designs, 3 eyes, GIFs, 01. I could have made the iris size an absolute value or something. I don't know. But there's the animation. I'm curious. I want to see what the fully blurred version looks like, so I'm going to get stuff ready for that. That is scan. Wait, no. Align 06. Yeah. As much duller. So let me try saving this out. And you'll see what it looks like out of focus. Like fully out of focus. It is gonna take its time. Did I finish this? No, I got one more. Scan to go. Okay. It's going slow again because I went back to a much larger file. Alright, let's save these all user slices. Go to the stills, make a new folder. That's 02. And name these files 02. And save that. And while that's going, let's scan one more. Except I can't because this dialog or this window just goes on top of everything and I don't know why. Okay, this is number 10. I'm actually going to save out one more. That is the first iteration of the stencil, which is number 8. Yeah, number 8. Open up number 8, and I need to align the corners and such. Come down here. Just this size. I will have 2 more animations in the next 5 minutes, ideally. Okay, change this size, 9,000. This looks like it's Rastafarian because of the colors. One more bout of saving stuff. While that's doing that, I'm gonna get a physical folder prepped. And with that, let's see. Where am I in frame? Okay. The tab, got my thing. Date it. And this is airbrush 3 eyes. For color. Okay, very close. This is number 8. I'll have those 2 other animations done in the next short period of time. Whatever, I'll save that one. Close this, file, scripts, load, browse, live designs, 3 eyes, stills. Should actually be called number 3, but I'll take care of that in a minute. Almost have the blurry one ready for you to check out. I'm not doing all of them just because it eats up a lot of time just waiting for it to save. And it is a much faster process when I'm not streaming, because that puts a different strain on my computer by streaming. This will be no 6. Just so everything stays in line with the numbering and such. Dun, 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 dun. Just one sec. Here we go. Here it is, very chaotic. That is a result of how I position the airbrush when I'm going through, because it's a good inch off, so any angle that I take with the positioning of it will shift where and how the paint falls. It's interesting to see. File, scripts, load files into stack, browse, boop, doop, and come in here to number 8. Gonna sneeze. Excuse me. This one will be clean for the red, and then it might be jittery for the other colors, because the other colors are behind, and if they're just a tiny bit off in the alignment, and then they get thrown a bunch. This looks fake. Bum ba dum bum. 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 Save this guy out, and this will be the last thing that I do on stream today. But I'll edit a bunch of this down. And don't need that guy. I'm just going to replace this image because it's easier. This is without the black element, but you can see the other aspects of it. If it were black on top of this, just that isolated section, it'd be fine, but the black actually just takes up everything except for that section, so it just darkens everything a bunch and it makes it weirder to be looking at. But I think that's it for today for streaming. If you want to buy stuff from me, you can go to my web store, traceloops.com/store. If you want to purchase something and have it shipped outside of the US, you can email me, traceloops@traceloops.com. You can also email me with comments, concerns, questions, curiosities, commissions, etc., etc. Again, that is traceloops@traceloops.com. If you want to purchase something and have it shipped outside of the US, you can email me. I already said that. If you want to watch this stream or other streams in full, you can go to the live section of my YouTube channel. It'll be recorded and available for viewing at your leisure. If you want to follow me on other platforms, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, Spotify, all of those places. I'm Traceloops, TRACELOOPS. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Traceloops, where you will find high-resolution versions of artwork that I create during streams. You'll also find a selection of tutorials, and then at higher tiers, new songs for me weekdays, and at the highest tier, you get a monthly postcard from me with original artwork on the front, little message on the back, and a discount to that aforementioned web store. I think that's it for today. It's Friday, so I won't be back until at least Monday, but hope that you have a good weekend. Thanks for watching, and I plan on being back Monday. Tentatively won't be streaming on Wednesday, but I'll see whether or not plan comes through or not. But yeah, got some more work to do on this before I post things on it, but it's mostly done. Okay, have a good rest of your day and a nice weekend. Adios.